Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus again. Saturday morning. I believe this is the 10th of July. Maybe the 11th. I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, here I am. Finding myself out here again, sharing with you. You know, I've lived long enough, ladies and gentlemen, to realize that for certain there are two sides to everything. And both of those sides have legitimacy given to themselves. But what is real? Can they both be real? Can they? And if they were one, what could it be? Now, I think that's a heck of a question that many of us cannot answer. There might be a few of us who can. I can't. But I do know this, ladies and gentlemen. I am me. And I'm important because I'm here. I know that is a fact. And so I believe and like to extend that same fact to each of you, whether you claim it or not. In this reality that I'm living, I don't like it. Whatever was intended from the beginning or earlier point than this, I don't know what it was. I'd love to think that from the onset it wasn't this. Because to have started this with a goal, as a goal. So what is it that I see for me? I see this earth as wonderful and as magnificent as it is, existing. And I had no hand in it. All of the resources and the goods and hidden, some of them on the earth, some of them in the earth, some of them above the earth. When I say hidden, I mean some are seen and some are unseen. But as time has passed and they have been discovered, we found that most of them can be used for something that's absolutely fantastic for man, for humankind. And yet, at the same time, you find out there's something else that it could be used for that is as negative and detrimental as it is good. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I still see this earth fantastic. And when I see people on it, people like me, fatter, thinner, taller, shorter, male, female, straight and gay, all shades, I see them smiling every morning. As bright as this sun that's shining in my face right now. You can't see it, but ooh boy, is it shining. And that sun only represents the smiles that will be on your face. This is my world. In this world where you are with that great smile, the reason that you have that great smile, because it has been confirmed and affirmed that your needs, your wants, and your desires are being met. Now, that means a lot of things, but just to name a few, it means that food, clothing, and shelter you will never, ever be without as long as you are a human being living on this God-given earth. Education, which serves a wonderful purpose. Without me describing, I'm sure you already know, but it's unlimited and unrestricted. This is my world that I'm seeing in my heart, in my mind, in my spirit. Healthcare. Oh, well, we'd love to be free from sickness, but whether we would or not, it's here. And we want to make sure that we got the health care from the womb to the tomb. Every last one of us, and we got it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, that is just to name a few of the things. I'm not talking about the transportation, it's the same. I'm not talking about the infrastructure, it's the same. I'm not talking about the adventures they're all good. But I just want to name that to give you some basis. And now you might ask, and I'm sure you would, but I'll tell you before you ask. The way that we have an abundance of all of these goods and services for the people, billions of us, we took consideration that the power that put all of that stuff here, put it here for a purpose. Then we considered who needs it and why they need it. And then that included every last one of us. Then we said if everybody needs it, they must play a role. They must have something to give in the process of getting it. And we checked them out and found out that everybody had a gift. Everybody had a talent, something that they wanted to do on this earth. And just to have the joy to do it, just to know that they can do it, gave them their greatest joy. And so every citizen that fit the mold that would require them, that would allow them, I'm not talking about babies and you know what I mean, but those they would engage themselves in an exercise that, is abundantly clear because the resources just come and we're overflowing because we got a gift and we're doing it. And what we are doing is connected in such a way, apparently by a power that is responsible for our existence, that it meets all of our needs. All of our needs. Oh, brother. And in that, you know what? We live in peace. We live prosperous. We live in freedom, filled with joy, and the fulfillment of our ever dreams. That's me, ladies and gentlemen. That's the world I see. They tell me that that's impossible, but standing here as I am, that's where I am. And that is an expression, for me, of love. That's the world that I'm about. That's the world that if there's a power outside of myself that created all human beings, I cannot see it being designed for any other purpose other than just that right there. And I stand on that. And for me, every individual that is connected with the power of love can see exactly what I'm talking about. And it is so important to them, not just for themselves, but for everybody else, especially when they're being held down, that we rise to the occasion to liberate them. For we are the power of love. And that is how we are known, not by going half the way, but by going all the way. But, ladies and gentlemen, I find in this reality that does not exist. It's like the big ocean with all the fish in it in a world of their own. Everything they could ever want, imagine, is right there for them. And yet, ever now and then, one of them, a bunch of them, and a whole lot of them gets taken off the track and caught by a bait, something that separates them from their reality and sucks them into the reality of another, called food. A bait. So what is the bait that would take Americans, to take human beings off the path I just described? They tell me it's a deception. That is the bait. First of all, the deception makes room for the bait. The deception comes that says some are better than others. You've heard it before. We have the greatest religion on earth. We are the greatest people on earth. The United States is the greatest nation on the face of the earth. We have the greatest everything. You heard that, right? Well, can you imagine that in a group of a bunch of other people in other territories and so on and so forth? But you're the best. And they are saying the same thing. So you're setting yourselves up, lying to yourselves about one another, putting yourselves in opposition to one another. So that healthiness that could exist that's wiped out before you even get a chance to start. Yeah. And having told you that you're better, how are you going to prove it? Right now, you suffer for nothing. But to be better, you got to have a better satisfaction. So what you do, You come up with a bait. What is it? You don't need compassion for one another. You don't need to honor one another. You need money. And so, through that deception, the world and all of its resources that were dedicated to humankind now are stolen by the people and those hungry mongers, deceptionists. They got their name on it. Everything that God gave us for our benefit right now has somebody else's name on it, some company name on it, some corporation name on it, some country's name on it. Why? To control it, to manipulate it, to be God over it. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Isn't it? And in the process of doing this, in the process of becoming so superior to God's plan, you'll do anything to convince people, to deceive people. You'll lie, you'll cheat, you'll steal, you'll kill. You'll create the environment for terror. You'll create the environment for hatred and bigotry and racism. You'll do that to divide us so you can play God. And the people in their ignorance, and they'll go along with it and empower you, even though they see the pain and suffering that's going on about it. The lying, the cheating, even they themselves have to find themselves doing those same things, trying to live in this world that you have said is better than the original world. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, how you've been deceived. This is the world that we're all immersed in right now, but this world has got to change. Now, you say there's no deception. Let me ask you, ladies and gentlemen, did you just see, or the several months ago before this pandemic came around, the impeachment of the president? Did you see all of the ugliness? Did you see all the mobness? Did you see all the crime and violence and all of those perpetrators of it all wrapped up around the president? And as they got convicted and sent to prison, the president is trying to release them back into the world, calling them honorable men. And those people who found problem with them, calling them evil, demons. Isn't that something? Well, what did they say? They say, yes, we're the mob. We have taken over. But the mob also says we took over because you didn't care. And I guess they walk around bold in power because they're still there. So whoever pretended to care apparently did not care. But ladies and gentlemen, that's neither here nor there. You know what? I'm here today to say, when we saw those senators in Washington, how they were sticking with this information as it has been given to us, how it didn't matter, how they said we don't care, how they waited, all they wanted to do was get politicians in place, get people of power in place that could make laws that would cause their sickness to be perpetuated across this land. That's what it reduced to. That is the world of deception. This is the world of Putin. This is the world of every last American acting like those people in China, clapping hands when Donald Trump come off the plane, dropping it. Well, anyway, you guys can have this. I'm about love. And as I stand here today, I want you to know that God, the power that put me here, is about love. And that's what I'm going to be working on. So as far as I'm concerned, everything that exists today is rotten. Every institution is rotten. The economic institution is rotten. Why? Because there are people on the street hungry. Everything is rotten. It is rotten from its core. And we must redo it. They say some years ago, a group of men got together, called themselves formulating a new nation. They called it the United States of America. Well, I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is a nation that's gone to hell. And we're going to send it there in a fast speed because we're going to change it. We're going to change it because we now know, the world knows, this power of man has been exposed. The pain and suffering of the power of man has been exposed. The cries for redress from those who are suffering and the denial of it has been exposed. And there is no solution on this earth that we can reach for that has been put before us that's going to work. So if there are going to be changes, and there are going to be changes, we are going to bring them. We are going to do for one another as we want others to do for us. And we're not going to let people like Trump, like Putin, we're not going to let any perpetuators of lies and deception prevent us from achieving that. So I'm saying to all of you, every last one of you, if you're standing against everybody having food and clothing and shelter, you're standing against God. If you're not standing up, guaranteeing, making an effort to make sure that they are not, you're standing against God. The people in Venezuela, you know what? Sanctions. You know, that causes all that stuff. That's power play. Power play, the games of money and the games of deception, and people are suffering, and we're sitting back acting like we don't even know it. Why? Because we're not concerned enough about it to cause the powers that have that media stuff to tell us about it. And those who communicate it to the extent we understand. No, that's not happening. But we got people, Lebanon, all over the earth, people are suffering. They're crying out, give us some help, please, please. But where is that power that can do that? Where is that power that can answer? There is no power that can answer. All of that stuff was created by taking power from the people. That's how it was made. That's why the suffering came about. Now, who's going to come to the rescue? Who's going to be used as an expression of love? It can't be the United States of America. They want to build walls around it. They want to build moats and put alligators and snakes to make sure that the babies can't even cross. My God, this is the world you're living in. But the Almighty God has held it up and shown us through the execution, the murder of George Floyd. My God, George, I know you never dreamed that you'd come up to be, you'd come to be such a renown. Man, you will never be forgotten. You will go into infamy. George Floyd, that young man who had no idea, well, I heard he wanted to play professional basketball at one time. Well, he didn't do that, I don't think. But there's no professional basketball player that will ever live throughout history. Even LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, these guys won't live out through history like George Floyd. George Floyd. See, God made George Floyd this popular. God made George Floyd famous for the rest of for the rest of our lives. God has made George Floyd famous. And now he's going to make you famous. Because you're going to change. You're going to start saying that these people on this corner, with these signs, they got to go. And we're not putting them in jail. We're going to make sure that they got decency. They're going to have housing. They're going to have a career. They need education. They're going to get it. They're going to live just like they are kings and queens. We are stopping that stuff, that old line, Trumpish stuff. I call it Trumpish stuff because you can see it. Now, those of you who think that Trump is okay, then you keep on thinking Trump is okay. But those who are hurting, they don't think Trump is okay. And for those white people, you know, you're victims too. And this love that I have for all the people that are of color, you can bet your last money I got that same love for you. Because had I not, then all of this love that I got for myself and people of color doesn't mean anything in the sight of God. It is required. Love requires. Love requires that after having proven my love for all of these people, my test is proven to you. That's the ultimate test. Because if I can't prove to you that I love you, then I failed. And love never fails. Love will find a way. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it to you. You know what it's all about. Until next time, this has been Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate for basic human rights for all people, spokesman and a voice for God, and asking you to give yourselves a vote by November 3rd, however means. Write in Eddie Marcus as the next president of the United States of America, bringing in and instituting with your power the government of God to set we as human beings free to live as though we are heavenly. Goodbye.